Please. Right. Move your hats.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Miller, would you please listen to prayer?
Bow your heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we pray that you watch over the activities of tonight's meeting, that our discussions and our decisions can be pleasing to you. I just pray you watch over all the people in Hazen and all the people that are here this evening. In your name we pray.
Amen. Reading and approval of the minutes from December 16th.
Motion to approve and suspend the reading.
Motion by Wolf. Second by Hack. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, those minutes are approved. Approval of the agenda. Any additions or changes to the agenda?
I did add the board appointment to the Housing Authority as 11B.
11B.
Yes.
Board appointment. All right.
Motion to approve agenda as presented.
All right, motion by Hack to approve the agenda. Second. Second by Stern. Discussion. All in favor of the agenda, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. All right, 5A. Indy Street Program Application. Monty, you want to finish?
Chair,
Do that?
Mr. Kobundi from Moore Engineering did submit the application. At this point, he basically submitted two applications. One is the scale back for those areas that aren't currently in the incorporated city limits. And one was the entire application, as we had discussed. Issue is, for like that underpass, isn't actually in city limits, and it has to be within city limits to be part of the grant program. Board can decide if they'd like, they can annex part of the highway right-of-way to get those areas into city limits. It's the same thing for part of the lighting project. When you get basically over by that 9th Avenue area, that isn't in the incorporated city limits, so you would have to annex. So I guess at this point, it's going to be in your ball court if you want to think about annexing those areas to make the project complete. Otherwise, you'll be looking at basically just this portion of lighting would be the only thing that could be done at this point. That's
Which one, Monty?
just this little, from the 27 here, this yellow line to there would be the only thing that would be included at this point.
Probably explains why there's no lighting there.
Pretty much.
I still think that lighting project, and what did he say about funding? He thought we were going to be not available, not, is that the email or letter he sent us?
No, that was for the water tower.
Oh, yeah. I think it'd still be nice to have a lighting on the Highway 200 along those two areas. And if it could still be that as a shared cost, that'd be great. But the underpass portion at Senex, that's, I don't know, that one seems like it's kind of unattainable at this point. But we can proceed however you guys want to. Case.
Well, I know that we had, I guess, talked about annexing in various areas around town here. I was just curious before that ever went to, or I guess
just not done anything with them, but, you know, if you wanted to do those and his other spots at the same time, I guess to keep Pat nice and busy. Not like he's looking for work maybe, but I've got no issue with these. You know, and I have, you know, obviously we'd have to review what we're looking at with those other locations too, but for this project, I don't know, what's your guys' thoughts?
So the cost of annexing these pieces right now, they couldn't be included in the grant, right? It would be our,
Well, the cost of annexation is basically just it's legal work, correct? There's no,
Publication.
Yeah.
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 okay.
Notification.
Well, you're still talking a little bit of money.
Yeah.
It's not free.
couple $1,000.
Yeah.
But it's far cry for the project itself.
So this is just a little segment of property along then the highway. It doesn't include any of the highway itself, correct?
Right, it would just be highway right away. Is the way Jared explained it.
And he says, along with that goes the responsibility of them maintaining that right away.
The highway department would still maintain the highway, it would be our responsibility for the right of way, which we mow and
We
do
that
everything
already.
now anyway. Except the north side, out west, we don't do the north side.
Right, from Jimmy's west on the north side of the highway, that gets usually cut and
Baled.
baled. Mhm.
Yeah.
Should we still stay with agreement with whatever person does that? I would like to see if we can pursue this and again get the shared cost on the lighting on both sides. I think it's a nice safety addition to our community, nothing else. On the east and the west end. The walking path and the box culvert under the highway at Senex, I think it's just too big of a project for us.
Just the overall cost.
If it isn't part of the grant, yeah.
Right.
But you'll never be able to do it any cheaper than
No, no, you would.
to pursue it through the grant.
No.
Are we throwing anything away? I guess we would be spending some money for engineering design for the submittal of that paperwork for the grant, and if you weren't approved for the grant, you'd be out that money.
Well, the grant has already been, the engineer work for the grant and the
Is in.
submittal is already done.
Oh.
So there's nothing as far as that, except if you need some engineering work to do the annexation or find some boundaries and descriptions. I guess if nothing else, if you authorize Pat and I to work on it, and you can bring it back for your review to annex of which areas you want.
I would like to see that happen. If we can get the, and if we get shot down on the grant, we should try to get it done. So just need to make a motion to authorize Monty to go forward and submit this with, or deal with the aspects with Pat.
Does that include the lighting too there?
Well, I was gonna say, and then I can go look back at some of the discussion on the other areas that you wanted, and we can try to include as much of that as we can. Some of it would have been right in that area anyway.
I just think that underpass there.
Yeah.
When there continues to be these conversations about hauling sand and you know, increases in traffic, major traffic in terms of the size of the vehicles on there, blinking lights for people to go across there, I think
Dangerous.
it's a matter of time. Somebody's gonna get hurt there.
Monty, do you want a motion?
I don't think you need one.
Okay.
I mean, that's on retainer, so.
Yeah. Okay, then we'll continue forward with this if you want, Jared, know, and
Okay.
we'll see what we can get. they'd be awesome additions to our community. And that was it from Jared.
That was it from Jared.
And more, okay. All right, 6A, water freezing issue for the rakes at Bluegrass Lane. All right. Come on up. Tell us what your thoughts are.
I'm just wondering kind of what's being done, because I got another letter now. We took it upon ourselves to fix the problem.
Okay.
And we got a letter stating it wasn't right. We were using too much water. So I'm just wondering now what.
Can you tell us what you did? I don't even know what you guys did to get.
We put a small tube type pipe from the water main after the meter that drains down into our furnace vent. So there's a continuous water flow. So we don't have to shut our faucet on and off and make sure the kids don't turn it off at night.
And freeze it up.
Right. And so I guess too much water went through.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a concern because in the past years, it's around 30,000 gallons a month. In December, it was 104,000. So that's why it was Tammy brought it to their attention as far as that.
Can that flow be, what we have done is we've reached out to our city engineers and asked them to bring back to us what the options would be for the city to try to find some permanent solutions for that area up there. And, because of the type of soil and the original construction of the area and stuff like that, it's a pretty huge undertaking. And so the shorter term solution was, to trickle the water to keep a flow like you did. Is there opportunity to minimize that flow a little bit more?
We changed the pipe now to a smaller one, but
Okay.
I don't want to go any smaller. We just did that today. But
Okay.
I wouldn't want to go any smaller than that, because previous years we dripped
Mhm.
and froze up.
Still froze up.
Yeah, it has to be a constant flow of water.
Mhm.
So we can see what it comes out to be next month, because we made it smaller, but other than that, I don't know what to do.
So the only thing that's happened at this time is it was just a bringing it to your awareness that the flow was a lot more than what it has been in the past, but it wasn't to say you have to shut it off or anything like that, right?
Not to my recollection. No.
Okay, maybe again. I brought it just in case. It just says that only one faucet in your home needs to drip to prevent freezing, which needs to run. So, but it doesn't say to cut down or anything, but I don't know.
Can I see that?
And then my other concern was the fix is in my house. So I have a constant run of water in my house. And if I leave and it floods, where am I then?
Fortunately, all I can say on that is we'd submit a claim through our insurance in that event.
So can you tell me more about how you took out the old pipe today and put in a new one that's smaller, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that, have you guys seen how that process works? Is that, I guess I'm not, so how long is it? So like 20 feet long? That goes up to the curb stop?
No.
No, what she did was Gene put and Gene did the work, my
Okay,
husband.
yeah.
So he put a turn off in the pipe that comes off of the main, right behind after the water meter.
Okay,
And he put a pipe on there, put
Ah,
another turn off
okay,
with another little hose that runs to the furnace,
all right.
which is, her furnace room is what, 6 by 6 or 8 by 8 or something, it's small.
Okay.
Ryan was just there today and he looked at
Probably
it.
about 10.
Ryan's how you was?
Yes,
Okay.
I wonder if one uses a needle belt, similar to what you use for like the water
And-
supply to a.
And he put one on
humidifier.
so that he can restrict the flow,
Yes,
that it won't burn it out. But at some point, all of them are going to, okay? And then that's his thing is, he's not a plumber, he fixed it.
Yeah.
Ryan came and looked at it today and
What-
said it is reduced.
Oh, Ryan, so.
I just know that,
Yeah.
you know, different belts have a different CV on it, you know, so there's a minimum that you're gonna get
Yeah.
to.
But
And
yet
there's-
again, the cost is going towards the homeowner
Yeah.
when it's a city problem.
Yeah.
So now we
No, I
fixed
get
it twice and it's still her cost.
Mhm.
So I guess her question is, what are we doing about it? And if, because right now they don't leave, somebody's home all the time, because if that does explode for some unforeseen reason,
Yeah.
whose issue is it?
Yeah.
They can't leave for 2 weeks because, you know, whose insurance is gonna pay? She's saying that she doesn't think her insurance will.
Mhm.
And you don't wanna ask your insurance company if they will.
Yeah,
You know,
because then they might make me get flood insurance.
I would agree with Monty, I think it would be, because it's a city issue, it would go against our policy if something.
You're
were to happen.
assuming, that it's tough to be in the situation they're in when
Sure.
you're assuming our insurance will pay, but they don't have to pay.
Yeah.
Just because we say it, it might be our issue. And it's not only her, it's the neighbors,
Sure.
Smiths,
Schaefer's.
Schaefer's. I can
Schaefer's,
never think of it.
Oakland's, and
Hillary.
Nate,
Road.
Nate
Hillary.
Hillary.
Wasn't Oakland fixed?
No, they do still
do
have
the
issues.
Same
They
thing
still
I
have
had.
issues?
Can we?
And
can
Schaefer
we get a-
has used a 1/4-inch tube and leaves his running and has no issues for years.
And
But
what is his
So how-
water,
Yeah, if it's gonna.
what is the average of those people?
His is right around that 30,000.
And what about like Josh and Nate? Are they all?
They're all in that 20 to 30,000.
Can we do a reading in a week and then, can we do?
Well, we credit, I mean, they're not
Yeah,
paying for 100,000.
I know, but if we want them to reduce it, we should know within a week or two if this new valve is helping.
Or the new tube, yeah.
Or the new
Yeah,
tube,
it
yeah.
can be read at any time.
Maybe we should read it in 2 weeks to see if it's helping
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
at least we get a little gauge.
I just
for-
don't wanna get a $200 water bill, so,
Yeah, right.
saying that I didn't reduce it and I'm not getting credited as much, so.
Be kinda curious why it spiked that much.
Started
Again,
by,
it all depends on what side, you know, what type of valve you put in there and the size of the line and all that type of stuff.
The line was obviously.
You know, I know, for instance, I have an April air humidifier, so
Right,
it uses a little needle valve type thing for tapping in, and it's a very small copper line that goes to it, and it just dribbles out, you know, for when it's doing the humidification and stuff like that, and I don't get a
You're not gonna
big
get a $200 water bill.
No,
No, we appreciate you doing what you're doing to it. Just short of us doing $30,000 or $50,000 excavation and, you know, I don't even know how we can do that with that sandy soil in the pipe there, but.
I would like to hear some more feedback from our engineering folks as to what other options are available, because it's, I don't.
I know, I guess, you know, I mean, I guess like what they had said, either bury it down more, or run, I guess, like a
A heat
Heat
line or
tape
something.
thing.
heat tape on the main, yeah, you know, which is both gonna be dig up, you know,
Well,
some trees.
Yeah, it's good. That's,
Well,
So-
there was discussion about that option of running that wire or whatever right through the line, but then you can't shut off a curb stop without either pulling it out or
Right.
cutting it off.
well, I'd almost rather have that, where you know if you run that out there, you have to pull it to shut the curb stop off. How often do you need to shut the curb stop off?
Very seldom for the most
Right.
part, yeah.
Well, and we've got failed curb stops to where we know that as a course of action, if in an emergency situation, you go further up to a main or something like that. So,
Well, next time we have Jared here, that we do need to do something with those. And it sounds like there's like 4 of them that we need to do something with. Oakland's runs underneath his
All that
driveway.
cement,
Yeah.
So then I guess, what's the size of the tube prior that you used?
I think it was, I wanna say ½ inch, and
Okay,
I think he went to 1/4 inch.
a 1/4 inch, so then it should be more in line of the,
Yeah.
than I guess 30,000 gallons, right?
We will read it sooner than, the month's up, so we'll keep an eye on it and we'll let you know if it's helping or not. And in the meantime, I wish we had a better answer for you.
How is that flow credited back at this point for our customers that are having?
Based on the
bills?
average of their last, before they started running.
Okay,
So if they weren't doing the running in November,
Yep.
we take 3 years of Novembers and average it, and that's
Okay.
what they're charged.
Anybody else? Sorry you have to deal with it. I'm sure it's a pain in the butt. Yeah. And we'll see what we can do, if there's something else we can do. But Thank Plumber Gene.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Reports, water, sewer.
Being 60,
Oh, I'm sorry, we have the local permit raffle. Is the figure skating club can approve or not?
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Wolf to approve the Hazen figure skating club
I'll
raffle.
second that.
Second by Pillar. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. 9A, water sewer.
We brought on our new employee. Everything was approved. Mr. Burchick started his tenure with the city on December 30th. I haven't heard anything negative, so must be a good thing then. And that's all I've got at this time.
Streets, cemetery.
I've got really nothing, no major issues other than with the warmer temps, we've been scraping a little bit, getting some ice off where we can. Noticeably, I've seen that personally. Will we still continue to get calls? I'm sure we will. But I don't think, got any major issues at this time, Dave, going on. Other than that, that's all I have.
Okay, Dave, you got anything? Finance busing.
Anything at this time?
Okay. Police, fire,
Nothing at this time.
all right, Buster, CD.
A couple of things. We had a reorganization meeting with the Pioneer folks the housing committee folks last Monday night. And have just about all our officers named, but Christy Fleeger Keller was named as the chair of the committee. Carla Morlock is coming on as a treasurer, and we didn't do anything with the secretary position. Troy Johnson stayed on as a vice president. We didn't do anything with the secretary's position as of yet, but we will, pending your approval of the new commissioner. Bill Zing has actually indicated that he's willing to bring his name forward to get on that board. So we'll have that reorganized. And then, of course, there's the need to get the checkbook, names on the checkbook and all the legal documents changed over. And then also, once we have it all finalized, then that's going to do a filing to the Secretary of State to get that all updated. So that stuff's falling into place. We have a meeting. Carla and I and Sandy have a meeting planned for Thursday now to take a look at the budget and get back into that, and at least get that submitted to the bank. And I did volunteer to try to get the garages, get it squared away with Western Steel. We still have the punch list that we'd like to have some things done with, so I'll get back with Western Steel on that, and hopefully we can get that squared away as well and moving forward. So any questions on that? No, nothing, okay. The only other thing I have is that on the 22nd of January, which is about 2 weeks from this, 2.5 weeks actually from today, HCD, my group is having their annual meeting. It'll be in the small hall here at City Hall, so. And as of right now, I have tentatively talked with Wade Basons to do a presentation on Project Tundra, which is the carbon capture. I saw a presentation on that when I went to Cole County Conversion, and I thought that would be a good deal to have for our residents to see what's happening out there, being it's in our backyard kind of at center. So he said that he had to check his calendar, but he said if he's not able to do it, he certainly could find somebody that would be able to do the presentation. So
What time does that start, Buster? 5:30?
I believe so. I believe it's at 5:30. Yeah, and then we run through so a little bit of a social, and then again the dinner, and our business meeting, and then the program. Yeah. So that's all I have. Any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll wait for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and just add under mine here that we you saw in the notes that Friday was Shannon's last day with us, and she will be available to help with some stuff this winter yet. But Monty and I have been talking quite a bit about this, and we're actually talking to the county about sharing some duties, possibly helping save some money in the budget if we do something like that, where we contract some of the duties out. But in the meantime, we do need to get some of the cover for the clerk of court.
Yes.
And that would be us appointing that person, Monty. Or
Never
just have a
actually formally
recommendation.
appointed, but yeah.
And Tammy Ron would be a person that we'd be looking at doing that, filling that duty for Shannon's spot.
Is that a compensated appointment?
You
No.
haven't talked to much about that, no? Okay. All right. So if anybody has any issues with that, let us know. If not, then we'll see if Tammy will take that on and do those. But yeah, it's one of those deals where it's, with Shannon's position, obviously Monty said he could probably take some stuff on, but I don't want to put too much of that position onto Monty's plate too. So, might it be a part-time spot? I don't know. We'll see. But in the meantime, we'll just wait and see what we hear back from the county. And you've talked to some other communities too. Yeah.
Just to get some information on what they're being charged for their contracts to just do the assessing. We'll only be looking at the assessing portion. And then doing the equalization meeting.
All right. So bring you up to speed on that. That's all I have for that. Let's move down to 10A, 2019 audit, Rath and Meyer. We got a letter saying that they would be willing to do our audit again for us. So we just have to let Monty know if we approve of that and have him contact them to set it up.
Seem to recall last year when we asked the question, these folks have been doing it forever? For quite a while?
Quite a while. Their office has changed. Mr. Mayor has retired.
Okay.
So they are, actually, as far as I know, they have hired another individual. So it's not the exact same team, but it's pretty much the same.
Have we ever reached out to get a competitive bid for this service? Is it a worthwhile thing to do?
In discussing with the other counties, it's all pretty much even, but yeah, we
Okay.
can.
I mean, I don't wanna spend $10 to save 5 for the city. But in the business world, occasionally even with our partners,
Mhm,
we go out for competitive bid to make sure the pencils stay sharp.
mhm.
We sure could, there's nothing wrong with asking that. You know, it's not like we don't trust them but, you know, to get since we haven't done it in probably 10 years.
Yeah.
I know a bad idea.
I have to visit with Pat on what we would use as guidelines. If we're doing a competitive bid, I'd have to get some
Yeah,
information from
spec.
you to get everything spec right.
Oh, well, I don't know what your specs would be, but whatever the requirements are from the state.
Century code is pretty
Should be pretty,
wide open.
well, it should be pretty well set by
I
the
would think.
state as to what's required for an audit.
If nothing else, you know, you could use the information that's presented as their scope
Mm-hmm.
and use it as the basis. I mean, if that's been acceptable for us for a number of years.
Well, the government accounting standards.
I would think the state would actually be the best resource for
Okay.
The guidelines on
Yeah.
whatever they accept.
Well, like I say, there's government accounting standards that you have to follow, so that's what the audit is, to see that.
Sure, yeah.
All right, so let's.
Do you want competitive bids? You want me to publish a notice or do you just want me to see proposals?
I think if we can see proposals, that'd
Okay.
be fine.
So I have a question, is there a time frame on when this audit needs to be done?
Just needs to be done during the year.
Okay,
Actually, it can be biannually, but we've done them annually.
okay, so it's not putting us in a time crunch.
Okay, I will contact someone, bring it back to the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks.
10B, Friends of Lake Sakakawea membership. Looks like they have changed their membership levels.
It depends on how good a friend we want to be.
I see that. Good friend, great friend, best friend membership.
So what's different this year? They just broke it into 3 categories as opposed to just a single? Or-
There was actually, well, and they did include now the praiseworthy friend, which is a lifetime membership of $1,800. We've always, in the past, it was always a silver business membership at $100.
I think we could remain great
I
friends.
think we stay as a great friend, yeah.
Can the city be considered a family membership?
Yeah.
No?
I think they'll take whatever we're willing to give them.
A motion.
I'd make a motion to go ahead and become a great friend, family membership in the amount of $100 as we have in the past.
Motion by Pillar,
Second,
second by Wolf, discussion. Casey,
So I guess, at the states, I guess, they work on, I guess, like boat ramps and other, other kind of, like projects, but I guess, what do they all do? I guess I've never really met anyone from there.
They're more of a coordinating type board. They find these different projects, and most of it deals with tourism and trying to work with the Corps as far as lake levels and those types of things to be involved in the process of how they set up some of their guidelines. So, yeah.
would you like one of the representatives to come to a meeting? Explain what they kind of do more in depth, because I don't know exactly, other than reading the letter.
And I would think that would help sway for more of a donation, but.
Right. Yeah, because if we're gonna do this for another 10 years, why don't we just get the lifetime membership for $1,800 right off the bat instead of
Anticipate the city going anywhere north of the lake, so but it does make more sense.
Right. Yeah, we did budget break
That's a
there.
good point.
Right. Okay, we have a motion and a second, any more discussion? Roll call.
Heller.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Hack.
Aye.
Stern.
Aye.
Omenauer.
Aye, motion carried. Thank you. Old business, 11A, fire department pumper truck proposal. Different than tanker truck. Like in the Visitor Tribune that I thought we were getting such a great deal with. So what do you know, Casey?
Okay, we're looking at, our current pumper is 22 years old. So we're looking at, we went out, did some specking to build a new truck. We currently have a Pierce, so we looked at Pierce. A Pierce pumper, similar to ours, is $659,676. Our truck was $240,000 when we bought it. So we went around, a few of us, we traveled down to Lyon, South Dakota, and went to Rosenbauer's factory and looked at their trucks. Seemed to be a really nice truck. By the time it was all said and done, Rosenbauer came back, if we prepay the entire loan, so if we take a loan out and pay up front, we can get that for $583,714. So a substantial savings over a Pierce. Warranty is all the same, everything through. I mean, we've talked to like BBC, they've got some Rosenbauer trucks out there. Sounds like they've been good trucks. So not too worried about the warranty side of anything. Just a lot better price. Monty and I did some talking. We have 156 in our truck replacement fund right now. So that put us down to $427,714. I have talked with Carla Borlaug over at Union State Bank. They'd be willing to give us a 10-year loan at 3.09%, which is, that's matching what Rosenbauer came back with. It makes an annual payment of $50,414.43. We'd still have our current truck to sell. We've kind of got some conflicting numbers, anywhere from 40,000 to 100,000 for it. Just kind of depends on, Monty had pulled up a truck similar to that on, what was that, Gov Bids or?
Gov Deals.
That really made us sad. What was that?
20.
So
Say 22 or 23,000.
our current truck has a CAF system on it, which will bring in a little more money because of that. With this amount, I had a meeting with the rural board and talked with them. The city pumpers always went out and helped out in rural structure fires. They would be willing to pay $10,000 a year, up to 10 years to help with that payment. And then
What is the period of the loan that you discussed with Union State Bank?
10 years.
10 years, okay.
So they'd be willing to put 100,000 towards it. And then the fire department, we do fundraisers every year. We had a meeting and talked about it. We'd be willing to put 5,000 a year towards it to try to help with it. So
So it'd be 35,000
yeah, 30.
remaining per yearly thing.
Yeah.
Ish.
We can almost do that with your energy savings now.
We did cut in half, so that's good. One thing, when Monty and I went through our current budget, I mean, there would be no $5,000 a year going into a new truck replacement fund during that time. So I mean, that'd be five of us.
That's 30,000.
There's a few other line items where we came up with, what do we figure, about another 5,000 out of the
At
current
least.
budget.
And there's no restriction on the loan with the bank on, you sell that other pumper to take that money and put it direct towards principal?
Yep, it'd be a principal reduction.
Okay.
Yep. So, and we would put the truck up for sale immediately. I've talked with our rural board, our rural tanker is a a pumper also.
Hmm.
So that we could use to cover any structure fires during the time the new truck would be built. New truck would take approximately 13 months to get. So, the other part of that, we're looking at, they're expecting anywhere from a 3 to 5% increase coming up, so anywhere from $18,000 to $30,000 increase coming up too. They're willing to hold this price for a short time for us, but. So yeah, by the time we get a new truck, our current truck would be over 23 years old. So, it's been good, but that's starting to get up there.
And this is from Rosenbauer.
This would be from Rosenberg.
You've done a lot of labor, Casey. I guess, guys, my biggest concern is, so best case scenario, we're still looking for $25,000 a year.
In addition to what we're already struggling to
And,
have conversations about on the city budget.
yeah, where does that come from? Sales tax,
Sales tax, according to ordinances, to reduce property tax burden. I
Okay.
suppose you could,
You could argue that a portion of people's property tax pays for fire services.
I'll be honest, guys, I've got a fear. And one of my fears is that in November, there's an election. And if that election, isn't favorable for a Cole County area like us, what happens to Mercer County or our region, with jobs and homes for sale and, coal service and conversion, you know, a third of our budget's based on that.
Sure.
How much do we get?
a little over 800,000 a year.
Obviously, it wouldn't go away immediately. It'd be a slow death for about 10 years probably. And my fear is that how do we maintain finding that 25,000 a year to pay for that?
One thing, after this year, you have 4 more years on the pledge to the hospital, which was 25,000 a year.
Okay.
So if there's some way of
What's left on the
maintaining
water?
that going
What's
forward.
left on the water plant?
I wanna say there's 2 more years on that, but that's an enterprise fund, those
Oh,
funds
that's right.
stay there, so.
So that's my fear. Do I want you to have to wait 10 more months to see what happens? And say, okay, we're not gonna do it. I won't commit 25,000 a year until we know what happens with that. I don't know. This budget, last budget we dealt with, was pretty skinny already. If there's a group in our community that I would love to help out more than anybody, it's our fire department does an awesome job. And you guys maintain and do a great job with everything you have. You keep it clean, you keep it up to date, you guys train, you've got 30 some guys on. That is phenomenal.
Have we looked down the path of any kind of corporate sponsorships at all?
We have not.
You know, I don't know if it would amount to much, but, you know, occasionally we've had, I'm sure, situations, you know, at Coyote and stuff like that, where fire departments come out there and help save the day.
Leland Olds,
Leland
they went
Olds.
there.
I'm wondering if there might be some opportunity to help take some of the bite out of this. If we were to go to the basins and to
Yeah.
the folks down in Elk River.
Pat's golden parachute. Put that dog on the side there.
I was
I-
gonna suggest that, I don't think the election should be have anything to do with this decision. Coal companies are declared bankruptcy right now, there's 11 of them in the United States.
But on North American coal,
It's wind, it's solar, it's other things that are changing coal industry. I don't think the election's gonna make a big difference on that. I think you need to look locally and see what you can do, and look to, like the corporate sponsors that you're suggesting, and look to other means. And I wouldn't wait for an election outcome on a national level to make a difference in Hazen. It's, if it does, it's going to be minimal, and there's gonna be more important things that'll make a difference.
Yeah,
I would love to believe 100% what you just said, Pat, but I don't.
Well, that's
I
fine.
have more fear than that, I guess. I'm sorry, okay, you're off.
Well, on the corporate side of things, none of the plants are actually in our fire district. That's a tough part with any of those. So we have went out, we have helped Leland Olds, you know, in 2007, I believe it was.
Yeah.
They gave the fire department a $10,000 donation afterwards, which we used for updating some equipment. You know, we went out and we helped Coyote Station. They had that big fire in December of 2014, I think it was. You know, they gave us I forget what it was, they gave us a pretty nice chunk of money, you know, for that, but that's the worst part. We don't have a basin plant in our fire district. We don't have any of that stuff in our fire district, so.
Right.
And that's kind of one thing we run into. Yes, we do help them out. We do go there if needed. But
Kissy.
You know, it's not that I'd like to spend all this money, but I mean, as you said, next year the prices are gonna go up by, I mean, I guess 6% or something, is that what you said?
well, they figured anywhere from 3 to 5% yet this spring. So I mean, we're looking 18 to 30,000 within the next probably 2 months.
So is that pretty much every year then, they go up?
They have an increase every year, they said, and on average around 3%. So we wait a year, it could be another 60 grand. We actually looked at a truck here about 4 years ago, and it was about 120,000 less than what they are now. And we kind of went through the same thing at that time, and we actually looked into doing a refurb on our current truck. To refurb our truck, which is, like I said, already a 22-year-old truck, is over $350,000. We're still got a 22-year-old truck in the, you know.
You know, so I mean, we got a low rate, I guess, 3.09, I think is the rate, so I mean, that might be under what a new one's gonna go up every year. But
Grants, anything out there for?
There's really nothing out there for grants. I mean, honestly, Hazen's got, you figure a 22-year-old truck for the town of Hazen, a lot of your towns in North Dakota have 50-year-old motors. You know, they're gonna be a lot smaller town. Not as many calls as we have, but, you know, we're starting to have little problems here and there with our current truck. The thing we don't want is to have a major problem
During.
and, you know, that just happens when stuff starts to get that old, so. And that's why we've been looking, I mean, we've been kind of working on this off and on for the last couple of years. You know, there's nothing cheap about it, I mean, like I said, 240,000 to. You know, we at first wanted to go with the Pierce because that's what we've always ran, but, you know, you're looking 583, 714 to 659, you know, well, and we did get prices on a Spartan truck also, and that was even higher than the Pierce, so. And it's nothing fancy, I mean, we actually cut out the CAF system, which we have in our current truck. CAF system's another just about $23,000.
What is that?
Compressed air foam system.
Okay.
We'd still have a foam system, it'd just be a foam reduction system.
And I'm sure Hyman was high too then, Hyman Fire,
Hyman is
part of.
Hyman is who sells Rosenbauer.
Yeah, Rosenbauer makes them and then Hyman.
Yeah, Hyman's a dealer for him.
That's right.
So when do you have to let Rosenbauer know?
They just told me they would hold the price for a short term. And that was kind of where it was at. So,
Casey?
So then I guess, is there any way that, I mean, every year, I guess, we save, I guess, $5,000 a year now, right?
mhm.
You know, for the reserve. Is there any way to, save more in like 10 or, you know?
Depends on the year. You mean going forward?
Yeah, going
For
forward,
the
yeah,
payment or
yeah.
what?
Well, yeah,
You're talking
Or
about
else-
taking 5 more or something more
Yeah.
out of our fire department budget?
yeah, and
Some
then,
years maybe.
and then on
most
top of
years,
that, we would then maybe then on like match that, you know,
You mean for saving up for a new truck?
yeah,
Mhm.
Well, we were always supposed to put 5,000 a year
Sure.
into this fund. And 22 years and what we have in. I know we borrowed a little over 100,000 out of this fund a few years ago for a rescue truck. And then in doing that, Mercer County paid back an additional 25,000 just for borrowing the money. So also at the end of the years, like this year or last year, I came in and asked for the remainder of our budget to go towards the truck replacement fund. I went back through like financials and there's been lots of years that just stays in the general fund. You know, we could have built up this truck replacement fund and this burden would have been under 200,000 that we would have been looking at borrowing. So I mean, so there has been money there that could have been placed into that truck replacement fund throughout the last 22 years. It hasn't been. I mean, I guess the city knew we were gonna have to replace the truck at some point.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Well, I know
that's-
we joked about it earlier, but just our energy savings, it's gonna be a couple thousand a year saving.
exactly. But that doesn't do much when you still have 25,000.
Yeah.
I mean, that's even why I went and talked to the rural board, you know, it's.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty awesome that they're
It's-
willing to do 10,000
It
a year
is,
for
and
10
you,
years.
you guys have done all the right things.
Yeah.
You know, we created this year, unfortunately, a deficit budget. So another 25,000 is a real stretch. It's necessary. I wish the guy could snap his fingers and there'd be a solution.
Well, we can sharpen the pencil some more and come back next meeting and maybe have some more ideas.
Would you say we have a lift on the hospital 2 years?
The other option was to do a longer loan term also,
That's
which we had talked about, what was the rate? Monte, I don't have that sheet from Rosenbauer, do you have it?
Yes.
I mean, and Union State said they would match and possibly be able to beat everything. So like to go to a 15-year, they would do 3.78%. So around a $40,000 loan. You know, same thing if we paid 15 of it, that leaves us 25. You know, take out possibly 10, we'd be down in that 15,000 range. But one thing the rural board and our fire department did say they would do the 10,000 up to 10 years. You know, up to 100,000. We would do the 5,000 up to 10 years, up to 50,000. So.
And keeping in mind, the first payment would not be due with Union State Bank until January 1 of 21. So there would be no monies due this year.
Right.
So it would
Are
be
you
this year's budget.
accumulating interest though between now and then, or it's just no payment?
I'm assuming the loan wouldn't start until.
Well, the loan would start, I mean, we'd have to pay within 15 days. So the loan would start within 15 days. By doing that, we're saving
22% or something.
saving just about $32,000 by paying the truck up front, which we're not making that, or we're not gonna have that kind of interest expenses.
Right.
So. Otherwise, we wouldn't have to pay a payment until the truck was done, but you're gonna pay over $32,000 more for the truck.
So Monty, when you said sharpen your pencil, you're gonna scratch your head in your office and look at our
Well,
budget. and see what it
I
would be.
know there's additional funding that we've set aside for other donations and those types of things. And if we can find another 10 even
Yeah,
in the general fund somewhere without cutting services.
Did we get enough time next meeting?
I think we have to look
We gotta look
long and
more
hard
money.
here, not long and hard, but deep and hard and see where we can come up with some additional funding and stuff.
If you give us 2 weeks.
Sounds good. Okay, thank you guys.
And maybe,
No, thank you,
maybe
guys.
even though those entities are not in our fire district, you know, there's things that Basin has supported around the region here for betterment of the community, to attract employees and things like that to the area. So it may be worth some discussions regardless.
Well, they can only say no,
Right.
Yeah.
you know, like an ask is the minimum.
And that's, the ask has to be a creative ask, you know, to,
Yeah.
you know, reference those type of benefits to them as a company. I mean, I see it all the time. We kind of complain about the fact that the majority, or a lot of our people are commuting from Bismarck, Mandan, you know, out. And we certainly, even as a corporation, would like to have those people within a much closer response time and all of that, so.
Jenny Swanson used to be the quarterback for the Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
Pulling.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, thank you guys.
Hey, thank you.
Yep.
Those are a lot better numbers. Hopefully you can figure it out. 11B, board appointment for in the housing authority.
As Buster mentioned, Bill Zing did sit in at the last meeting and did agree to accept an appointment to the Housing Authority and Pioneer Apartments Board for, it would be the unexpired term of Mr. McCarthy for 2 years.
So that would be the only new person. The other two
Carla Borlaug.
that
Carla
took the
Borlaug.
positions. Well, Carla is also new,
Carl was appointed at the last meeting.
and Christie was already there. She
Yeah.
just took the position.
Okay.
So we just need a motion.
Motion to appoint him then.
So moved.
Motion by Hack to appoint Bill Zing to the 2-year position and Carla Borlaug to the open.
Carla's already been
Oh,
appointed.
she's been appointed. Okay. All right, we have a motion by Hack,
Second.
second by Stern. Discussion. Roll call.
Hack,
Aye.
Stern,
Aye.
Hiller,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Obenauer.
Aye. Motion carried, thank you. No new business. And approval of bills.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Wolf. Second. Second by Stern. Discussion. Roll call.
Wolf,
Aye.
Stern.
Aye.
Hack.
Aye.
Hiller.
Aye.
Obenauer.
Aye. Motion carried.